Hello, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us on YouTube Live. I am your host, Jim Spiewak with KUTV 2 News here in Salt Lake City. And joining us once again, as he does each and every day after trial is over, is Nathan Evershed. He is a defense attorney who is not associated with this case, but we get together every day at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time to talk about what happened in court during the trial of Kouri Richins, who is the Utah woman that is accused of killing and poisoning her husband with a lethal dose of fentanyl. So I believe we're now in, day 8 of this trial, deep into the second week here, Nathan. Earlier this morning, some people may say that we got into really the dry part of the testimony for the prosecution's case. We were talking, at least initially, about insurance, but insurance is a really important key component to this case. So just 30,000-foot level, as I always ask you each and every day, what are some of your big takeaways from court today?
Well, Jim, the defense has a dragon to slay, and that is the dragon head of motive, and one of those being money. That why would someone kill their spouse is to get their financial affairs in order. But you know, Jim, what's harder than a one-headed dragon to slay? A two-headed dragon. And here the prosecution is creating this dual narrative of not only could she benefit by removing her husband from the scene financially, but she could benefit in a romantic way with a boyfriend. So the first part of the day was about insurance and attorneys and assets and estates and money. And then we ended with a paramour, a boyfriend at the time.
And maybe an obvious question, but I want to ask it anyway. Why was it so important for the prosecution to get these people that were from these insurance companies? And we're going to hear from one of them here in just a minute. But why was it so important for them to get them here on the record in front of the jury? What was the purpose? What did they really want the jury to hear?
That's a good question. These individuals are people with knowledge. They can lay foundation. They can introduce exhibits. They can show exactly what's happening. And so Ms. Richins has her constitutional rights to confront people that knows, and the people that can be confronted are people that actually know things. And these are people that are laying out a substantial issue that the prosecution is trying to develop, which is the financial motive for apparently killing one's spouse. One of those being insurance proceeds that could come.
And one of the first back and forths that we heard today was from a woman named LaShonda Rogers. She was with the New York Life Insurance Company, and there was a back and forth that I'm going to play right now. So to set this up, they were talking about Kouri allegedly trying to change the name of the beneficiary on one of Eric Richins, her husband's, life insurance policies. So let's go ahead and listen to that exchange.
Before it said partner, Eric Richins' partner 100%. Now it says Kouri Richins' spouse 100%.
That is correct.
Who can get in there and change if they so desire?
The owner and anyone that has the owner's information.
Okay, all right. So in other words, if I found the password and the credentials, I could log in, I suppose, and change somebody else's.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, between 7/21 and 7/27, everything remained or went back to being the same, correct?
It did.
Okay.
So they were talking about everything going back to the same. The beneficiaries tried to get, or Kouri allegedly tried to change the beneficiary information, putting her as one of the beneficiaries, but they were saying that it went back to, reverted to what it was originally. So your thoughts to that exchange?
Well, there's two good points by two good attorneys there. One of them being, 2 months before Eric Richins died, apparently Ms. Richins went in to try to change the beneficiary, but then the defense is saying, well, it really didn't matter because it went back to the original beneficiary anyway. But then the prosecution is also just saying, what, is it a coincidence that this was happening just 2 months before? So an interesting aspect of the case.
Okay, so now moving on to another aspect of the life insurance policy. This next exchange, to set this up, Kouri was continuously calling one of the life insurance companies asking about when the policies were going to be playing out. So this call came in from, June of 2022. So now we're a few months after Eric's passing to continue to call and check on the status of some of these payments. So let me go ahead and pull this up right here, and we'll listen to this.
She also added that she doesn't know how her husband got that.
Okay. The next day, Kouri Richins called again?
Yes.
Okay, and what was stated in that conversation?
It was the same thing that she provided us, that the drug was not prescribed
Okay.
and that she doesn't know where it came from.
Did ultimately True Stage pay on this claim?
Yes.
Do you know when and how that went out?
Yes, it was August 31st, 2022, and we paid that by electronic funds transfer into an account of hers.
So is this just showing or laying foundation that life insurance was paid out?
Yes, and I understand it was around 250,000. It wasn't a small amount.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about $250,000, so definitely not nothing here. And as we talked about, you and I talked about yesterday, according to the prosecution and her financial records, Kouri was about $1.6 million negative net worth, had about $8 million in $8 million in liabilities, a little more than $6 million in assets there. And so, these life insurance payouts has really been a big topic of discussion. So once we got through the insurance portion of the testimony, one of the big things this afternoon was hearing from this former boyfriend. Now, this former boyfriend got on the stand, and I want to go ahead and play this because I thought this was an interesting moment. It's very difficult to hear him because he's not mic'd up. This is when he is getting sworn in. But to give you some context around this, when you're sworn in, you're saying, are you going to swear to tell the truth against the penalties of perjury? And he said something to the effect of, well, what do you mean the whole truth? And so let me go ahead and play and cue this up right here and show you this exchange, because the judge had to put a stop on proceedings and actually ask the jury to leave for a brief moment and confirm with this witness if he really knows what the difference between the truth and a non-truth is. So let's go ahead and listen to this exchange right here.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the pains and penalties of perjury?
Sir, do you swear to tell the whole truth under the pains and penalties of perjury, yes or no?
I won't lie. I'll tell as much as I need to. In this setting, I assume all the answers to the questions are not.
Stand right there for a moment, if you don't mind. Can I invite you folks to take a walk for a moment? Please rise for the jury. Just pause for a moment.
That's when the judge went on to say, do you know what the difference is between the truth and a non-truth? He said, yes. He was eventually sworn in. They brought the jury back in, and the prosecution made a very explicit point for the judge to tell the jury that he was sworn in, he was under oath. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, and it makes you smirk because this is the crazy thing about a jury trial is that anything can happen. I've seen a lot of crazy things happen in a jury trial, but nothing like that. And who could have guessed that that would have happened? I'm sure that this gentleman's nervous. He's trying to ask questions. He doesn't want to be there. He hasn't seen Ms. Richins since 2022. So really curious, somewhat comical thing to see in court.
And a good reason of why, and I'm opining here, of why he may be nervous, the court put out a bunch of text messages. I think it was close to an hour's worth of text messages where there really wasn't anything said, but these exhibits were entered into evidence in the trial. The jury got a chance to see them, and a lot of the text messages were surrounding conversations between him and Kouri, talking about the relationship that they had and how they allegedly loved each other, and in some of their situation, and then near the end, near Eric's death, and that Eric had died, and him wanting to be in the picture, and Kouri saying, I don't know if I can do this anymore. So there was a lot of intimate detail that came out in some of these text messages, and so that may have been the reason why he may have been nervous. And so one of the other pieces of tape that I want to play for you right here, and it didn't take very long after he got on the stand, the prosecution came out and asked him one question pretty point blank about his relationship with Kouri Richins. So let's go ahead and play this right here.
During that time that you were romantically involved with Miss Richins, did you love her?
Yes.
During that time, did you feel that she loved you?
Yeah. I have a tendency of going head over heels, though, probably more than most, so, you know, I think she did.
Did you exchange text messages with Kouri Richins?
Yes.
From the time you moved to Utah, about how often?
Daily, unless she was mad at me, or vice versa.
What topics on those messages did you discuss?
Same thing you would discuss with your best friend, plus house flipping stuff. Life.
Do you discuss her children?
Yes.
So the prosecution, Nathan, asked him point blank pretty much right away, did you love her? He said yes. Did you have a chance to watch a little bit more of his testimony, and what was your big takeaway from the former boyfriend?
Big takeaway would be some memorable scenes of him having a tough time on the stand, going through all of that. It was just wrenching to see it up, and one can understand why. And then the other big takeaway is you saw just text after text, and it wasn't some random time like 10 years ago. This was just months, then weeks, then days before Mr. Richins' death. And you can see what the prosecution is laying out is, again, this double-headed dragon of, one, there's a financial benefit, but then two, she was in love and she was having an affair with this individual, and she could, one, take the cash, and then two, take another boy. And that's going to be their argument.
And from what I saw, there was never any admission by this witness that he really knew anything about Eric's passing or anything leading up to it. And so is the prosecution, I mean, they're not necessarily looking to try to get that out of the witness, but more just along the lines of what you said. This is someone that she was allegedly just going to go off with in the distance if her husband was out of the picture.
Yes. Yes, they were dating before Mr. Richins' death, and then they even connected afterwards, but then broke up later in 2022. And so this was an affair that was ongoing at the time, and even in the February months and that critical month right before his death, that there was communications and Valentine's and all of these things. So they're painting the picture that this timeline does tell you something, that she was in love with another person, that she was looking to potentially leave her husband for him. And then now with this insurance and this estate and this payout, she would be having money too.
And so this ex-boyfriend was someone that she would flip houses with, did a lot of handyman work, construction work, and they met out of state on another project, and then he moved here. He testified that he would live in one of Kouri's flips, work on that flip while he was living there, and that's how they really got to know each other, and then their relationship became romantic, according to him, shortly after or shortly before he moved here to Utah. So that's how the two of them met. And then the defense had a chance to cross-examine this witness and really try to paint the picture of, did you know anything about Eric? Did you know anything leading up to his passing? And so let me go ahead and cue up this sound from the defense, and then I'll have you take a look at this.
Did you ever have the impression that come Friday, the two of you were going to be together forever?
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation on how he would get an impression.
I'm going to overrule that one. Go ahead, sir.
No.
Did you ever have any impression that as of Friday, Eric Richins would be out of the picture?
No.
All right.
So there was a lot more on cross-examination, but is that for the defense really what they wanted to get across to the jury?
Yeah, just saying you weren't aware that she was planning to kill her husband, right? You didn't have any impression or thought that was literally going to happen. One thing too, I would just mention that some this came up where after Mr. Richins' death, apparently Kouri asked Mr. Grossman if he had ever killed anybody when he was serving in Iraq. So that was something that the prosecution was trying to make some hay with, saying that's a curious question to ask him, especially at this time. And of course, the defense is just trying to say this was something that was in the context of a lot of other discussions involving family and other things. So some really, really important witness, and they're trying to paint a story of motive here.
And so that witness then was released from the stand. It's not expected for him to be called back. So your just general overall takeaway again, I know I ask you this every day, but from both sides, do you think the prosecution got out of their witnesses today what they were looking for? And then do we think the defense had a good day in cross-examining these witnesses?
Yes, the prosecution had a great day. When you have a dragon, it's better to have two heads than one. And they have the financial, and then they have the boyfriend, and so that creates the motive as to why this would happen, which is a really hard thing for a jury to understand. Like, how could anyone do this? But then the defense made the points that they had. I mean, but you have to understand the defense is also just has this wave of evidence and motive and all the stuff that's coming to him. And it's tough. It has to be tough for him because there is a lot that's coming at him all at once. There's no shortage of evidence that the state has when it comes to text messages or searches or motive or financial issues or insurance things. There's a lot of witnesses and there's a lot of exhibits that's coming right at the defense on this. So your heart kind of goes out to them, but they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, Nathan Evershed, we'll leave it right there for now on day 8 of this trial. So thank you very much for spending some time with us. And again, for everyone watching out there, if you'd like to go ahead and subscribe to our KUTV YouTube page, you will get updates each and every day that we do these. We try to do them almost every single day after trial. There is no court on Friday, so we'll keep note of that, but we will continue again here on Monday. I have a scheduling conflict, so I will not be able to do this tomorrow. So, Nathan, we're going to take tomorrow off. But once again, as always, thank you very much for taking some time with us. We really do appreciate it breaking down this context. So, again, like the YouTube page and subscribe, and you will get these updates as soon as we get them and broadcast live. So, Nathan, thank you again.
Thank you.